Hey guys, and welcome back to the online learning space. Today what we're going to have a look at creating is a simple vase like this. So the first thing that you want to do is we want to create the sketch that will enable us to revolve around and to actually create the basic shape. Now to do this, I'm going to use the POLYLINE tool. So I'm going to pick a point, draw all the way up, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to also put a line at the bottom which will go out to about there. Now you can change these measurements later on. Now to get the arc that will create this part of the vase, what you can use is you can use the 3-point arc. And so I'm going to click on the sketch, I'm going to create 2 points, and then the final third point for where I want the arc to be. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create another arc. We're going to click on the sketch, and when you put the third point, we're going to put it over here somewhere. Now once we've done that, you then can go back in and modify how much you want these arcs to curve, and if you want to make it a bit wider or a little bit more in like that, you can. But once you have your basic shape, you're ready to revolve your vase. So we go to construct, we go to revolve for our profile, we click on our axis as that point there, and we rotate it 360 degrees. So now we've got a good starting point for the rest of our vase. So the first thing that we need to do here is we need to hollow out the top bit over here, and we can do that by using a tool which is called shell. So if you click on shell and you click on the top of the vase, we basically want to leave the thickness inside at about 5 mils. This one is much thinner, but we'll leave this one at 5. You can change the measurements if you really want. So once we've done that, we then need to cut out these circles out of this part of the vase. Now that's pretty simple to do. All we need to do is we need to go to our primitives, add a sphere. Alright, I'm just going to scale the sphere down a little bit. So maybe we'll put it 15 by 15. So once you've made your sphere a little smaller, we need to snap it to this part of the vase. So we can click on snap, click on the sphere, and we'll put it right there. Now, if you rotate around, the sphere is actually coming out of the actual vase. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move it until it sits inside nicely of the vase, and a little bit of it is coming out at the end. So once you've done that, you then need to wrap these spheres around this top part of the vase, and that's done using the circular pattern tool. So what we need to do is, with that sphere selected, we need to go and click circular pattern. We need to click on the solid, and we need to click on the axis, which is going to be that top part of the vase. So once you do that, I'm just going to put 5 of those spheres in. You can see that now those spheres wrap around the whole top section of that vase. So when you're done, you can click away. And now what we need to do is we need to subtract those spheres from the shape. So we will do that using the subtract tool, and we're going to click on our target, which is going to be the vase, and our source that we're going to subtract is going to be our spheres. So make sure you rotate around and you get all of the spheres. Now if you've done that correctly, when you click away, you can see that it will cut out the shape nicely for you. If it didn't work for any reason, you might have to undo that whole process and restart with a new sphere and put it over. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create that band. Now to do this, what you need to do is you need to go and grab the polyline tool, and we want to click on our sketch that we first made to create the actual vase. So we're going to click on that sketch. Now you want to zoom in, and you can pick any point really, but what you want to do is you want to create a rectangle that sits a little bit out of the actual vase. So it doesn't have to be perfect, you know, you can change the measurements to whatever you like, but just as long as you can have something like this where you can select it, and we're going to use the revolve tool to wrap it around the vase. So once you have that, we then click on revolve, we click on that shape. If your shape doesn't pop up, then make sure you go back and you click on the sketch first, so before drawing your rectangle. So you click on that. For the profile, the axis is going to be the entire vase, so we'll just click on that, and we will rotate it around 360 degrees. So now we have a band that sits over the top of our vase. What we can do with that is we can add a rounded edge to that, and we can use the fillet tool to click on that, and if you click on the outer circle, we then can make a smooth, nice edge, rounded edge on that part of the band. So if you want to add a little bit more of a fillet to the bottom, you can add a nice rounded edge like that. So that now gives us a nice curve for the rest of our vase. So we don't really need the sketch anymore, so you can delete it if you don't want it. Now we're going to create an indentation that will go and run again across the vase, but this time we're going to subtract from the vase. So now what you need to do is, if you have a look at outlines only, okay, we want to create a cut that will go inside of the vase, but not go into this part of the vase. So we want to just take out a little bit, and then if we revolve that or extrude, it's going to create the indentation effect that we're looking for. So to do this, we're going to go back to our polyline tool. We don't want to click on the sketch, we just want to click out of the sketch. Alright, so now we're going to create just a shape that just has a little bit which is cut out of the actual vase. So if we have that whole thing, okay, and we try to revolve that, if we go to revolve, and you want to make sure you're clicking on the entire sketch, we then revolve it around the same axis, and we do that 360 degrees. Now you can see that red. That means that you're subtracting from the shape. So once you hit enter and then you go back to materials and outlines, you can see now that we've created this band that will wrap around. Okay, now you can use other tools. You can, if you want a softer, edge, you can use a spline. All right, I've used the polyline to create a hard edge. But again, if you want to, make it a little bit smoother, you can add a bit of a chamfer to it, so you can create smooth edges like that. So now that we've got that, we want to just create a thin, small band at the top, and then we'll start putting these semicircles in. So what we can do again is I'm just going to get to the outline only, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that cutout that I used, and I'm just going to move it to the next part of my vase that I want to create a cutout. Now you can change the angles. So I'm going to create a thinner bar, so I'm just going to use this point of the actual shape to create this. So again, it's the same process. All I'm going to have to do is go to revolve, click on that. If I click on the axis, I'm going to click around that, do 360, and you can see that now I've created this real intricate cutout out of using that shape. So again, if you want to make it a bit more rounder, you can always grab the fillet tool and round away just to make it a little bit smoother, or you could use the spline tool to create that straight away. So if you don't need the shape anymore, you can get rid of it. But now our vase is looking pretty good. And so what we're going to do is, in this section over here, we're just going to use the circular pattern tool again, and we're just going to put, you know, these little decorative things on there. So to do that, we're going to go to our primitives and we can add in a hemisphere. So we want to flatten down this hemisphere, so we're going to go to our smart scale and we're just going to make it, you know, pretty flat. So it's only got a height of 9. We want to make it smaller, so I'm just going to hold shift and make it a little bit smaller. And once you're done, what you then need to do is, again, it's the same process. If you click on snap, we want to snap the bottom of the hemisphere and we want to snap it to this part over here. So I'm just going to click. Now that shape is still a little bit too big, so we're going to go to smart scale again and we are going to hold shift and just make it a touch smaller. Alright, now once you've done that, we need to move it into place. So if you click on that shape and you can't move it because everything moves, what you need to do is you need to highlight it and then this icon will open up and you need to click this one over here. Now what's that going to do is that's going to allow us to move that individual thing without the whole thing moving along. So now that I have my little button and it's sitting, we might just have to move it in slightly, but that's fine if it's just like that. So the next thing what you need to do is you need to go and click on your circular pattern tool and you need to click on the button as the solid, and the axis is going to be around this band. And so now when I increase the count, you can see that all of these things are, you know, slowly falling into place. If you're having problems with these buttons, you know, wrapping around, then what you have to do is you have to make sure that you ungroup this from the rest of your vase if you've actually snapped it to it. So once you've done all that, the last thing you need to do is you just need to add color. So if you go to the material, okay, you can find a whole range of, you know, stuff over here. So if you want to, you know, click on, say, brushed metal, okay, you can click on that. If you want to have a brass finish, a bronze finish, alright, you can do that as well. If you click on the individual sections, then those things will change color. So say for example I've got some gold buttons over here. And you're just gonna have to wrap around those different buttons. So, you know, if you want to add some titanium, okay, you can do that as well. So there's a whole range of materials that you can create your models out of. But anyways guys, thanks for watching, and that's how you create a simple vase using some simple techniques. See you next time.